Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Money Bear podcast. I just want to say hello. I don't even know, how was that the thing that came to my head? This is not how we start the podcast. What? Oh my goodness. But anyway, I guess that gives you guys all an insight on where my brain is at today, and that is just scattered, totally scattered. But we have a really fantastic guest who I was super excited to finally meet in person. Dyana and I have been connected on Instagram for several years, and I've been following her on YouTube as well. So we'll be talking about her incredible debt payoff journey. Especially, I love it that she was never making a high income and she's doing this as a single mom. So I think this episode today is going to resonate with a lot of people. And you guys know I'm not like a huge debt free person or anything along those lines, but I still think that the stories have value in terms of what they did and how they got there and what they learned along the way. And, I hope you guys learned something from it as well. So this week for the money tip, there's a question that I get a lot that I want to address. And it's people ask, hey, how many Roth IRAs can I have? Or how many traditional IRAs can I have? Is there a limit? And no, there's not technically a limit to how many Roth IRAs you can have, traditional IRAs, any of those things. Personally, though, I don't know why you would want to have multiple Roth IRAs. And here's why. I think people ask the question thinking that they can put in $6,000 into each individual Roth IRA that they have. But in reality, you can only put in a total of $6,000 no matter how many you have. So let's say you have two Roth IRAs, you cannot put $12,000 into the Roth IRAs. You can only put $6,000 total. So you could put $3,000 in one and $3,000 in the other, or $6,000 in one and nothing in the other. So there's really no benefit to having multiple Roth IRAs unless there's a very specific reason that you are deciding to do that. But unfortunately, no, we can't get around the limits. The limit is still 6,000 no matter how many IRAs you have. So I hope that clears things up for folks. I know people are always wondering that. But we're going to keep it quick this week because I am really running behind on some of the things that I have to do around my apartment. I feel a little bit overwhelmed today. That's been the theme for the last 3 weeks, if not longer, probably longer, but got to get to it, right? So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. A friendly reminder to please rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow a lot. And if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to tell us in the DMs, leave us a review, and, you can take a screenshot and DM me so I can thank you personally. So let's get to it. All right. Welcome back to the Money Bear podcast. Today we have my friend who I am meeting for the first time face to face, Dyana. How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you on as well. For those who aren't following you, don't know who you are, give us your little elevator speech on who you are on the internet and who you are in real life.
Yes. So I am Diana. Most people know me as Money Boss Mama. And fun fact, I still cringe when people call me that, but I am a money and mindset coach. I do specifically help single women improve their finances. And in my personal life, I'm just Diana from Little Arkansas, single mom of two, trying to build wealth for her babies.
I love it. And I love your story, and I can't wait to get into your story. But I have to ask, why do you cringe when people say your handle?
I before I joined Instagram, I had just smushed all of my interests together. So I wanted to branch out and be able to talk about three different niches. So motherhood, money, and I wanted to be my own boss. So I was like, well, these are the three things that, make up who I am. And when I got on Instagram, everyone was like, oh, like money boss. You think you're a money boss. Like you're the money boss mama. And it's like, no, that's not what the intent was. But I guess I could see, I get how people think that was my intent behind it.
Yeah, you're the money boss and you're a mom. I love it. I don't cringe at all when I say your handle. Just want to throw that out there.
As long as people like it, I'm like, well, if it works, go with it.
It works, right? Exactly. So for you, you went on quite the extensive debt-free journey, and you did it. You paid off how much debt in, I can't remember how much, what, It started with
Um,
35,000?
yes, so it was $34,907.
Okay. And that was mostly from, if I remember correctly, a C-section. So it was medical debt, right?
No.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had the bulk of that was actually student loans.
Mm.
So it was about 19,000, close to 20,000 at that time. And then it was auto loan, credit card debt, as well as the medical bills also.
Okay. And when you started your debt-free journey, kind of take us through that like realization, that oh shit moment that you had that you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a problem. Like there's $35,000 of debt here. I'm not making six figures. I'm a single mom." What was that moment like for you? What was kind of your journey leading up to that moment when you're like, "I need to change. Like something has to
Yeah.
change and this is what I'm going to do about it."
So I will say that it really started with my auto loan. That was the first debt that I ever got in because I thought that financial success was defined by what you had, and we didn't have a lot. And obviously, I'm looking at other things that are shiny, and I think that that is the way to financial success. And so I got a car and I knew nothing about money. I didn't know what a principal balance was, interest rate, credit score, any of that. And so that took up one of my biweekly paychecks every month,
Holy
which was,
cow.
yeah. And I
How
was
how
like,
old were you at the time?
I was 18. So when I turned
Oh,
18, I was like, I'm going to treat myself. I deserve it. I deserve a car. But I'm a Sonic car hop at the time. Um, and I was making like $7 an hour with
oh my
tips.
gosh.
And so that was fine. That played out for a while. But then once I had my daughter, 2 years later into this, I realized like I I'm up shit creek. Like I only have one paycheck. And so I started to Google how can I lower my auto loan payment? Because I feel like this thing is destroying my life now.
Mhm.
And it sent me down this rabbit hole of all of these terms I didn't know. And
Mhm.
then I would have to click off of this and then go in Google and say, well, what is principal balance? What is interest rate? And I couldn't believe like how much I didn't know and how I thought stupid I was when I went into the dealership. Like how good them saying, oh, it's just going to be 30 months sounded or
Right.
40
That
months.
does when they use the months, it doesn't sound that long when it's just like 30 months. And then you
Yeah.
realize you're like, "Oh, wait a second, that's like more than 3 years."
That's a lot.
Mhm.
And I remember when they said that to me, I was like, "Oh, I can do that. That's not gonna take too long."
Mhm.
But if I would have, been a little bit savvier with money and up to date on the terms, then I would have known that. But it was as I'm teaching myself and I'm learning these things, and I realize all the things that I don't know. I started to pick up on the fact that like I have built my life around my job or my income
Mhm.
because I have this income and I'm building things around it, and I just wanted my money back. I just wanted to have enough to take care of me and my daughter. And so I came up with the idea that screw it, it's pissing me off as I'm researching it. I want to be completely debt free. And that is what really started it.
Yeah, because I can only imagine. I mean, if you were 18 years old, you said 2 years later your daughter came into the picture. And at the time when your daughter came into the picture, were you still working at Sonic or had you moved into another career?
No. So when my daughter came into the picture, I was a college student.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, I was working two jobs, pregnant with her, and then I went down to one. So I was a part-time bank teller.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I can only imagine the struggle with dealing with like all of that and like you already have this car debt, which also can we just take a second to be like, how the heck is it legal that an 18-year-old can walk into a car dealership and like get saddled with a car loan? Like good in a way that like you got the car because you probably needed it in order to work, but do you know like what the terms were? Like now as an adult looking back, do you know like what interest you were paying or anything along those lines?
so I was paying, it was over 8% the
Oh
first
my
time. And
gosh.
then I I went in and it was breaking down, and they told me that it would be like $400 or $500 to fix it. Now,
Mm,
not a big deal.
right.
Then it sounded like $1,000 to me. And so I
Right.
was like, I can afford this. I have a baby on the way. She's coming, and literally she came literally the next day. And so I was
Holy
like,
cow.
I have to get into, a new a car. How can I walk out of here with a car that works, and not have to pay $400? So I not refinance, but I did a trade in, added more debt
Mhm.
on, didn't realize what I was doing. All I knew was that I couldn't give them this $400 that they were needing. And so then my interest rate went up to about 9.25%.
Oh, man. And at that point, you're only 20 years old still. So it's just like the fact that like you were starting off your journey not even before your student loan debt with already saddled with car debt and at a high interest rate, and then you're getting into the student loan world. That must have felt really overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. So when I had her a month after I turned 21, and I didn't really pick up on how deep in the hole I was until she came home,
Mhm.
and I have all of these expenses now. Like, this human life is all on me, and I have to figure it out. There's no one there to no one's going to do it for me. I have to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge realization, I think, for a lot of us. Like, for me, I had that same realization after being like in one bad relationship after another. And like growing up, I just always thought that, oh, women are bad with money. And like we have to like
Yeah.
find a dude who's gonna like help us figure things out. And that we all know that doesn't work out well. I mean, holy cow, I'm so glad I had that realization eventually. But you have to have that moment where you're like, this is my hole and I gotta figure out how to dig myself out of it.
Yeah, yeah, and who you connect yourself to, you have to be financially compatible. That was a
Hmm.
huge part of my story too, like, being in a relationship where we were just financially not compatible, and that made it 10 times harder than what it should have been.
Yeah. So you were 21 and you had that moment where you're like, all right, that something's got to change. I got to get out of this. What was the first thing you did? What was the, route that you decided to take? There's, like I said, being in college and having all of that going on at the same time and being like, I got to figure this out. What did you do?
Yeah. So during that time, I started a debt-free journey, and then I quit because, like a lot of people, we get in our heads, we're like, well, what I'm doing isn't enough.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do this because XYZ. Like, we use our circumstances to reaffirm like why we believe that we can't do something. So I quit that. And then in 2016, I decided to try it up again,
Mhm.
because once again, I just got this new job, and I thought that I was just, the shit now because I was making $15 per hour.
Rolling in the dough. I love
I'm
it.
rolling in the dough. And so I started this new job, and then I realized that this extra $400 now it's just going to the things that I couldn't afford but needed to put it, needed to have in my list of expenses. And I'm just like, why is it that I'm making more money, but I still have no money? And then at this time, I was living on the credit cards because I was living off one paycheck a month. One paycheck had to go to my auto loan. And so I'm like, we got to get back on this debt free journey. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to get, this is the only way. That was
Mhm.
literally my thought process. This is the only way
Mhm.
that you're going to be able to make this work, is to
Mhm.
get this debt down. And so the first thing that I did was I sat down and I created my little budget.
Mhm.
I created my little budget. I'm trying to figure out where my money is going. And then when I sat down and I created my budget, I had like $30 remaining after expenses were paid.
Mhm. Was that a
So
scary moment to be like, this is the buffer?
it was the aha moment.
Mhm.
Like, I'm really tight. Like, my expenses are basically exceeding my income.
Mhm.
But I didn't use that, once again, as a way to trick myself out of it and just being like, oh, everybody's in debt like I did before. I'm like, well, if I paid this credit card off, that would give me this much to roll into it. And
Mhm.
that's literally what I held on to. That was the little bit of hope that I held on to, is that every time I lowered some debt down, I would have more and more money. And so that was step one for me. I had to figure out where my money was going.
Yeah, it's such a powerful moment, and yet it's something that so many of us dread doing, of like actually looking at our numbers, because it's scary. Like, you think you know where your money is going, but then when you actually sit down and you look at where it needs to go, and then you realize, oh my gosh, even if I stick to this budget, I only have $30 left over. I feel like so many people, they have that moment of like, I'm just going to keep burying my head in the sand because this is scary and I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Or it's like what you did, where it's like, all right, the solution here is I got to pay off this credit card. And then once I have this credit card paid off, I've got this much extra dollars a month to dedicate to something else.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a powerful thing to do. I always tell people that my very first experience was similar in that, like, the first time I wrote down all my expenses, I saw how much I was blowing on stupid shit. And like, your situation's different. This was like life shit. Like, you weren't going out drinking with your friends every weekend and like, partying it up. Yours was like, these are my survival expenses. So
Mhm.
for you, what resources did you use? Did you try the debt snowball first? Did you try the avalanche? Like, what was your approach to, all right, I got this extra $30 a month. Here's where it's gonna go.
I think with me, it was all trial and error because I didn't have the personal finance community. I figured out that other people were like me in the community when I joined Instagram, but that was about 2 years into it at that
Mhm,
time, a little over 2 years. And so with me, it was all trial and error. And then I started with the debt that I was most uncomfortable with, which was
mhm,
my auto loan. I'm like, I got to get this thing down. I've got to get this thing down. And so since I knew that focus, I'm like, well, what do I have at my fingertips that I could use to get this auto loan down? So I went on my credit score journey, got that refinance because that's what I learned through my research. And then once I got that interest rate and that payment reduced by like $100, I was like, okay, well, it makes more sense now to get these credit cards paid off. When I
mhm,
started on my credit card debt, I did use the snowball method, and I did use the snowball method for the majority of my debt-free journey because I knew with how I naturally behave, I need to see that something's happening.
right,
I like instant gratification. I know that about myself. I accept that about myself. So I need to see that what I'm doing is working. Like, no one wants
mhm,
to throw money towards a debt and it's like it's not budging. I had
right,
dealt with that with my auto loan. I didn't want to deal with that again. And so I started with the smallest credit card balance and just started working myself down the debts that way. And I was using what I had at my fingertips to knock these debts down. In
mhm,
survival mode, I used tax refunds and the school checks that I got, to pay rent, pay up my auto loan and stuff like that. So now that I had a budget, now that I at least knew that I had enough to cover my, essentials, I could apply a part of that tax refund to my debts. That
mhm,
helped knocked it out, made up for lost time because I didn't have a lot to apply to it. And then with my new job, I got bonuses. Like, I'm like, this is something that I can use. Like, this is part of a strategy. And so I would use that. And then I realized about PTO. I started hoarding PTO because we could sell it
mm.
back. And I'm like, whenever you're really intentional and you are committed to doing whatever it is that you want to do financially, even if you have a low income, when you're committed to it, as in, I'm not just going to try to figure it out, I'm not going to see what happens, I'm going to do it, you're going to find opportunities in your day to day that you would not have picked up on before because you're looking for ways to pay it off instead of looking for ways to, tell yourself why you can't do it.
Right. Well, and I love that you said that, because as you were listing off all the different things that you're doing, I was like, damn, you were so resourceful. You were thinking of every possible way that you could do something that would move the needle forward.
Mhm.
And like, it started with that refinancing the car, and that extra $100. It must have felt so good to be like, I just found an extra $100 a month by doing this one thing. What else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah, you start to build that momentum. It's like, it's working. I see that, it's working. Now, I will say you're going to have patience. It took a whole year, just a whole year of focusing on like making on time payments, getting my credit score up. But I had that vision of if I get this down, I have this much more money and I could do this, and then that's going to reduce by this amount. Like I was being very intentional in my head with my vision, and then I find that it's a lot easier to have patience in your journey when you know exactly where you're going.
Yes, well, and I was gonna ask you about that. What was your vision? What was the thing that kept you motivated? Like, you were talking about commitment and, like, once you are committed,
Mhm.
it's easy to stay the course almost because you find every possible way. What'd you do to get that level of commitment? Like, what was the vision? What was the thing that kept you going?
I honestly think that it was me actually accepting that I was worthy of it.
Yeah.
I knew that I was worthy of debt freedom, and I had learned through the little wins that I was having to trust
Mhm.
myself making financial decisions, because before I made stupid decisions. I ran up my credit cards because once again, I'm trying to look the part. And so before I wasn't trusting myself because I made those mistakes. But once
Yeah.
I really started to work on this up here, my mind, my mindset, I started to realize like I am worthy and I am of worth and I can do this. I had full gorilla glue strong faith in myself, and whatever it is that I had to do or give up to get there, I was going to do it. And I held that vision and I typed out my debt-free speech before I was even debt free in the notes section of my phone. I was
Oh my
that
gosh.
serious.
I love that. What kind of things were in your debt-free speech? I've never heard that before, but I love that. It's almost like a manifestation script.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I was literally unknowingly manifesting this. So I had listed out auto loan paid, credit
Mhm.
card paid, student loans paid. And oh my God, I was kind of shaking writing that one out because that was the big mama at the end. But I listed out all the debts that I had paid, and I was like, I'm debt free. That's how I started out. And I'm proud of myself. Thank you, God. I did it. I stayed the course. And I was like, when I'm debt free, I can post that. And I copied and pasted it onto my Facebook on the day I became debt free.
Heck yes. Oh my gosh. I can even see like your face lighting up talking about it. And I think that that's so important because I think that's like a key component that a lot of people miss when they're thinking about like getting their money right, starting a
Mhm.
budget, investing, doing any of those things. It's like if you're not able to stick to it, then like you said, you're not committed to it. And if you're not
Mhm.
committed to it, it's because you're not excited about what your life is going to be like once you get to it. So it's like
Mm.
you gotta believe in that vision. You gotta breathe that vision. And it sounds like, maybe this is just the perspective that I'm getting from you talking about it. It sounds like it was like this was on your mind all the time.
Whew, oh my God, can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Because it's like I became my debt-free journey. That was my identity. And everyone's favorite question was when I paid it off, they were like, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I was like, I feel nothing. Mm. I was like,
Right.
sorry, but I honest to God, I felt nothing because I'm like, this is just a regular normal day. My mind refused to believe that we were done because this was a
Yeah.
4-year long journey. It was like, what do I do now? Who am I now? But you literally have to become that thing whenever
Hmm.
it's something so big and so rare that you're trying to accomplish. You have to embody that.
Right. Well, and what was your next move when you got I've heard so many people say that because it's so true. It's like you literally embody it. It's like your whole world for a couple of years of
Yeah.
really, really intense, especially if you're in like I know the Dave Ramsey community, like a
Mhm.
lot of folks finish their debt freedom journey and they're like, I was lost afterwards
Oh my
because it's
gosh.
like it
Yeah.
became my whole identity. And it's like, and now I feel anxious about spending money like for you, what was that
Mm.
like? Did you like how long do you think it took you to like like do you now recognize it? Because it's been a couple of years since you've been debt free,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm coming. It's September. Oh, yeah. My second debt-free anniversary was this month. Yeah.
Yay,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
So have you accepted the fact that you're debt free now?
Yes, I will say it took a little over a year. So the first
Hmm.
year I was very lost. My mind was still very much, what do we have to pay?
Hmm.
And because that was my identity, I did not really know where I wanted to go. I had in my mind, like, oh, when I pay off debt, I'm going to start this journey.
Hmm.
But I realized that I was so exhausted at the end of my debt free journey, like being intentional for 4 long years, that I just needed to sit and
Yeah.
not have a go from goal to goal. Like, we have that hustle mentality now, in today's society. And it's like we don't give ourselves enough time to really sit there and absorb what we just did
Right. And celebrate it too.
and
Like,
celebrate it. We just go from, okay, what's next? So
yes.
that's what it was. And when I didn't know what was next, I'm like, I have this money. What do I do with it? It forced me to really sit still and just figure out what is it that I want to do. I'm not the same Diana I was in 2016. I'm a completely different person. I literally believe that a debt-free journey is not you changing your finances, is you changing who you are, because your
Hmm.
money habits are who you are. And
Hmm.
so I was not that 2016-year-old Diana. I had to sit back and rewrite all of my goals
Hmm.
to with a 2020 Diana to figure out where it is that I wanted to go with it now.
Yeah, and you get to dream bigger now. It's not
Mm,
just about like getting to a place where you're surviving. It's like I'm gonna get to a place where I'm thriving. Like
yeah.
now I'm gonna dream bigger. And for you too, so here I am on this journey, and like now I've got to figure out what's next. So for
Mhm.
you, when you got to that point, what was next? What was like the next dream that you were like, all right, I've done this. Now this is what I'm gonna do.
So the next step, I guess did I no, I wasn't really with Dave Ramsey's.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his after baby step 2, I have no idea what
Mm-hmm.
his stuff is. But my next step was I need to make sure I secure what I just accomplished. And that was through saving. So
Mm-hmm.
I set out on my saving journey where I needed to get my emergency fund to 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
because throughout my debt free journey, I think the most I ever had was like $3,000. So I got
Mm-hmm.
to debt freedom with like $3,000 in my account. And I will say that journey was very, very short
Mm-hmm.
because I had no debt. I was used to, delayed gratification. Literally everything that I was doing in those 4 years, I feel like prepared me or overly prepared me for this next stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me about 8 months to get to, my first 5 figures in my savings account.
That's quick.
It was very quick, um and that's because what the bonuses coming in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm making side money too with Money Boss Mama. That was unexpected, and I didn't have to give it away to anyone.
Yeah, that must have been such a good feeling. You must have felt rich.
I was like, I don't know what, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I kept my budget the same, my personal funds were the same,
Mhm.
because before it was like $80 that I gave me and my kids every 2 weeks. We just had $80. And so that was very, it was exciting, but it was very hard to adjust to.
Yeah, yeah, did you celebrate with anything when you became debt free? Like did you treat yourself to anything?
I think yeah, well, we were really deep in the pandemic.
Oh
It was
yeah.
2020. I Oh my God, I think I took a nap. I really don't even know what I did. I think I took a nap.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, you're like, yeah, I celebrated with a free 99 nap. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. And then at what point, so you mentioned that, Money Boss Mama didn't come around initially. When did you decide to start Money Boss Mama? And did you start it on Instagram or did you start it on YouTube first?
So I started it on Instagram. I started
Mhm.
Money Boss Mama. It was like 2018, 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah, 2018 or beginning of 2019. I had a little blog called A Debt Free Journey that I used to just document my debt free journey so that I could stay with it. And then I decided like I should take this a little bit more seriously because I'm getting more inquiries from other women. They're like, "Thank you for sharing your story. It's hard for me to find someone that, resembles my story as a single mom and everything." And so I'm like, I need to get on Instagram.
Mhm.
I didn't wanna get on Instagram because 'cause I'm like, "I am this little country girl. These people are gonna look at me and they're gonna laugh at me. Number 1, they're not gonna take me serious, and they're gonna laugh at me because they're gonna think that, "Why should I listen to you?" You know?
Right.
Um, but I was just posting my journey, and people were just following. I'm like, they're following and they're listening, and it's because I that's my transparency.
Yeah.
That's, what I kept getting in my messages. "Thank you for being transparent," and I'm just like, I'm doing what I would have done anyway through the blog or whatever. T t Is it that we're lacking representation, or do we really feel like people aren't being transparent?
Yeah. Well, I think it's so easy, especially in the Instagram space, to like find the end result, not the journey.
Mm,
And
mm,
I think that that's what you're so good at is like talking about the hard stuff too, rather than just the highlight reel of like,
yeah.
these are some of the things I had to do when I was, a single mom on, a low income and with $35,000 of debt. So I agree. And I think too, everybody's gonna relate to somebody differently, and,
Mhm.
like, that's why it's so important to have so many people sharing our stories, and obviously people related. Like, you've got a good following both on YouTube and Instagram, and I can't remember, are you on TikTok as well?
I'm trying.
It's a whole other platform, I feel that, and, like, the did you find that it sounds like anyway, that once you started posting, the fear kinda went away because you found your tribe of, like, people who did resonate and we're so grateful to see your story.
Yeah, so I
Mhm,
felt like I owed it to them to keep
mhm,
showing up, because there was a time when I had, a couple thousand and I wanted to quit, but them saying that, "Thank you, and you're inspiring me and you're helping me just by sharing what I'm learning as I go." Like, I would literally learn something and I'm posting it, you know? I'm just
yeah,
learning as I go, and I realized, like, there is a need for me to keep sharing my story, and I would be letting them down if I quit.
yeah.
So, I got to debt freedom because I felt like I owed every single woman who looked at me as representation and motivation, just to show them that we can do this.
Heck yes, that's amazing. So it's funny how, like, you go there first to, like, share your story and almost like we're looking for support when we, like, first start,
Yeah.
and then we end up getting the support, but also providing the support too, which I think is
Yeah.
really cool. Very cool. So for you, with now that you're on the other side, you've been debt free for 2 years, is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
I wish that I would have, in my extreme frugal days, I always say, like, I wish that I would have taken my time. I
Mm,
feel like when I joined Instagram, I rushed it.
mhm.
And that's probably part of the reason why I didn't feel anything for a while and I was kinda lost afterwards. It's because it probably wasn't my time. It was before my time. Um, I had done some pretty crazy things to get to debt freedom and to save money. Like, I'm stitching up holes in my shirts. I'm in Goodwill because I have holes in my shoes, like the little cheap baby doll shoes everyone used to wear. I had holes in
Yeah.
my shoes. Like, I just wish that I would have allowed myself a little bit of, space and grace during those times, because it really took a toll on my mental health. It really took a toll on my mental health. Like, it's important to be debt free and be money, save money, but it's also important to do for yourself.
Mhm,
It's okay. Like, I find that a lot of us deal with our hustle is tied to survival mode, and we
mhm.
don't know how to shut that off.
That's so true. And I totally agree because even as you're talking about it, like the way you celebrated is taking a nap. It sounds like you weren't really celebrating the little wins along the way.
No, no, I
Yeah.
missed that part.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think too, like you said, I relate to that of like incorporating the things you love into the budget or
Mm,
incorporating rewards or things like that. Cause I think it allows you to do it longer. But,
Yeah.
I've noticed that you've started taking yourself out on dates on
Yes.
Instagram, and let
Yes.
me tell you, I love that so much. So it seems like you're making up for it now.
Because money's so emotional.
Mhm.
Money is emotional. Like, it's so heavily tied to our emotions, and our emotions are tied to our mental health, and it's like, it's not worth it. Love on yourself now, and so now
Yes.
I make it a point to take time out for myself. Like, I'll just go out to little fancy restaurants out of my little country town, and I'll read a book, I'll get a drink. I really feel like I'm loving myself now, and it has nothing to do with me, being debt free or whatever. I'm just so much more happier because I'm allowing myself to live.
Yes, I love that. I feel like I started doing the same thing this year where I was like, I'm going to date myself. And like
Mhm.
all the stuff that I feel like I'm not doing right now because I'm like sitting at home because I don't have anybody to do it with. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to do this for myself, and it really adds a lot of happiness to my life. And one of the things that I realized this year is how luxurious it feels to just take myself out to dinner and order whatever the heck I want.
Mm,
It's the best
exactly.
feeling. It's the
Exactly.
best. I love that you're doing that. So, for somebody who may have been in a similar situation that you were way back in the day, what would be your top 3 tips for them on their debt-free journey?
Ooh.
What would you
Mm.
tell them?
Number one, we've got to work on mindset. It does no good if you have new goals, but the same old mindset and the same old money habits. You have to really go back to childhood and adolescence. Face those hard situations, ask yourself those hard questions to figure out why it is that you handle money the way that you do now,
Mhm.
because you're going to have to go on this journey to change yourself. Your financial journey is you just changing your behavior and your mindset, and then the end result is that your money improves as well. I always say, a woman who has self-worth and know that she's worthy of financial freedom and debt freedom and a 6-month emergency fund or whatever it is that you want, a woman that knows she's worthy of that is going to manage her money in a way that aligns with that worth.
Mm, mhm.
No one's gonna go out and blow money on a Gucci bag when she has $15 in her account if she knows that she's worthy of debt freedom and she's
Mm.
accepted that. So that's number 1. And number 2 is, please get on a budget. We can't be trying to figure out where our money is going. Like, you have to know where your money is going, and it makes it so much easier, especially when you're low income or you don't have a lot of money, to be strategic. You have to be strategic about every single dollar that's coming in, because you got to maximize it
Mhm.
in order to get to, the next step. And third thing, speaking of step, is just to take the first step, whatever it is that you're needing to do. I find that so many women are like, what debt should I start with? Do you think that I should take this $500 bonus that I had and put it towards debt, or do you think I should put it towards saving? And it's like, just make a decision, trust yourself on it. You know what's best for your financial situation, and do it. It's a lot harder to get from step 0 and to 1 than 1 to 2, right?
Mhm.
You just got to move your feet.
That's so true, and I feel like that applies in every area of life.
Mm.
Honestly, all of your tips do, except I mean, the budgeting does too. I was gonna say except for the budgeting, but that I mean, that's important in all aspects of life as well.
Yeah.
Even just having a plan. But I think we get
Mm.
so tied up in the thinking about the thing and like pondering about the thing and researching the thing, and it's like just do the thing, and then you'll
Mm.
figure out the rest as you go.
Trial and error.
Yes, yes, yes. And I have 2 more questions for you. One is when in all of this journey, did you at any point decide to invest while paying off debt, or did you wait until you were debt free to invest?
So when I started my job, that was 2016. So I was investing in my 401k at this
Mhm.
time. Now I will say, I had little 6-month increments where I reduced it to like 2%, but I was still putting something back in my
Yeah.
401k. So I was very basic in investing. And then during this time, I also was starting to invest for my daughter, because that panic sets in. We're feeling behind, we're feeling late. I have nothing saved for her. So I started with just $15 in a 529 plan to start dipping my feet into the water. And I also had some single stocks too. So I guess I was doing a little something, something, you know,
Yeah. I love
during
that.
during that. So I read this book and got inspired. And I guess I started I always say I started kind of ass backwards on everything. But it's like, I know people think that it's easier to do like mutual funds and things, but here I am picking out single stocks, first.
So many people do that. So many people start with that because that's like the most familiar thing. We all know about that. A lot of us don't know about mutual funds or ETFs.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought it was the other way around because it's like, well, you don't have to pick or research a company, just, do the collection. And I'm like, well, I just started with what I had, Apple and Starbucks, because I'm like, well, these are the two things that I have and I love.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then after debt freedom is when I really started to go in with the investments because it's like, okay, it's game time now. I've got
Mhm.
money and I need to make up for lost time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you never fully stopped investing on the debt-free journey because I know there's a lot of loud voices in the space to say to like stop investing, stop doing everything, but
Mm.
I generally think that's a mistake. And like, I love that you highlighted like, yeah, there were times where I reduced what I was investing, but I was still investing. So important to note if anybody is listening and thinking about stopping their investing to pay off their debt, you can do both.
Yes, please don't. Don't stop.
Yes.
They got me for a while. I'll admit that, and I regret it.
Well, and it's one of those things, you're learning as you go. You're figuring
Mhm.
it out as you go, and what matters is you're making those steps and you're moving forward. Okay, I actually have one extra question, but I have two more questions. One's a fun one. This one's kind of a fun one too. Um, you mentioned you did a lot of crazy stuff to pay off your debt. What would you say was the craziest thing you did?
I went through my closet
Uh-huh.
and I sold pretty much everything. Now, mind you, I would s and I kid you not, I had started, like, in the corporate world, I promoted out, and I was like, "I hope they don't realize that I'm wearing, the same outfit that I wore Monday," and it was Friday. I was like, "I hope they don't realize that I'm wearing the same outfit." I literally would just recycle the same, few pieces of clothing.
Got it.
Um, I went through and pretty much sold everything, and I would joke with my family, I'm like, "I'm literally not gonna have anything left in this apartment because I'm gonna sell it all because I need to get this debt out the way." I got in wrecks. Um, I would go and get the estimate. They would
Uh-huh.
send me the check when it wasn't my fault, and I would put that. I'm walking around. I'm like a zip tie on my car to hold it up because I had to put the check towards credit card debt. you know,
Yeah,
so I would just whatever it was. I'm like, how can I make this work with my
money.
journey? Yeah,
That's amazing. Hey, you could just tell people you're a minimalist.
literally, I legit feel like I lived that I don't wanna live it again,
Yeah.
but I legit feel like I lived that life.
Yeah, that's hilarious. My sister does stuff like that too, where she'll donate plasma just to like get $100. And
Yeah,
I'm always like, Sydney, you could literally, she works for me, and I'm always like, you could just work a couple extra hours with me.
yeah,
And like, she's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
I feel her, like, I'm like, whatever I need to do.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love it. All right, before we get to our final question, tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, promote yourself.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok as well as Twitter at Money Boss Mama. And I am also on YouTube. That is Diana with a Y, Marie. If you like to sit and listen to people ramble about money. And I am also going back to coaching
Ooh,
in
congratulations.
January. Thank
That's
you.
exciting. All
I
right.
am so excited.
So where can they find your coaching offerings?
So you can find my coaching offerings on moneybossmama.com, or if you want to click on my link through Instagram, it will take you directly to the wait list.
Awesome. We'll put all that down in the show notes as well. Cool, cool. All right. Final question that I ask everybody. What was your very first money memory?
Hmm. I would say the one that's stuck in my brain My mom, when she left my dad, it was the end of 3rd grade,
Mhm.
and it was like shock for her because she's used to my dad being the provider, and she has 3 kids now. We would go to the grocery store, and sometimes we wouldn't have enough money. But
Mhm.
sometimes someone would be nice enough to spot us, or she would always say, "I'm gonna write a hot check."
Mhm.
Always. That's, oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to write a hot check. I'm gonna have to write a hot check. Like
Mhm.
every time we needed to go get food. And one time it didn't work, and we had the grocery cart filled to the tippy top, and we had to walk out. And
Oh,
I could see my mom with like this look of shame. We all took the walk of shame. That is the my first memory of money is like, if you don't have
damn.
money, you don't get groceries.
Yeah, that how do you think that impacted your mindset around
Oh my
money?
gosh.
That had to have been huge. I mean,
Girl.
there's gotta be trauma in that.
Trauma. When I say
Yeah.
trauma, after just watching my mom, even though I was so young, I couldn't really pinpoint it, but you know how it makes you feel. So
Yeah.
watching my mom kind of do things
Mhm.
to take care of us and provide for us, it traumatized me so bad to the point where when I could start working, I never stopped. I was a workaholic because I
Mhm.
didn't want to have to ask anyone for
Yeah.
money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can't end on that note. That's like a sad note. We got to end on a positive note. Okay. How about this? What's your favorite thing that you have purchased within the last year?
Hmm.
Talking about using money for joy, money for
Okay.
treating ourselves. What would you say?
Let me think. I would say, okay, this is gonna be very basic. Work with me here. I'm still getting out of my poverty mindset or habits. My
Yeah.
AirPods.
Oh, no, that's huge. That's not basic. They're a game changer.
Yeah, and they connect to my Mac and my phone. I was like, "Oh, this is
Mhm.
great."
Mhm. No, when I first got AirPods, I waited a really long time to get AirPods, and I didn't even get them for myself. It was my ex-boyfriend. He wanted to know what to get me for my birthday, and I was like, "I'll take some AirPods." And it was so like the way that it just like seamlessly connects between your MacBook and
Mhm.
your it's so
Yeah.
nice. So nice. I love it. That's a better answer than a nap.
I can't believe I'm like, "Girl, I could smack you, but we're doing better."
Hey, now you just gotta take yourself out on a couple more dates to make up for it.
Yeah.
I
Buy some
love
more
it.
plants.
Yes, plants too. Yeah, oh, I miss my plants. Awesome. Well, Diana, it was so nice meeting you. So nice having you on here. Like I said, we'll leave links to everything down below. Thank you again for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.